1994 was to introduce you to my friend and yours, Tommy Sherman. How are you doing, T?
I'm doing great.
What's
I'm
up, man?
surviving the lockdown here in Oklahoma.
I hear
How
you,
about you,
dude.
girl?
I'm doing good, man. I'm super glad that you wanted to do this because, one of the things that we always talk about with breast cancer can stick it is overcoming adversity, and you've had a lot of that. So I want to give everybody a little bit of back history on you and I before we jump into some of these deeper conversations. But we were talking yesterday, and we're going back in time about how we first met, man. Tell
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
about this, man.
It's crazy. We're in the middle of working another video that April and I are doing with some other musicians. And the video is going to be put together at Art Institute in Dallas. And back in 93, I was in a band in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And we won a contest. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like best original song. And the Art Institute sent us down to Summit Studios. They did videos and all kinds of stuff for us in this package. One night when me and my guys went out to the basement, there was actually a flyer on the wall as I was walking out. It was all handwritten. Do you sing like Journey or Queensryche? Call April or Rich. And I did. And that's how we got together and been friends ever since.
The rest is history. I remember when you showed
Yeah.
up, and actually we have to give a plug out to Patrick Stone because he's an amazing volunteer for Breast Cancer
Yeah.
Can Stick It. You guys showed up, and you both were long-haired hippies, and he was much taller than, well, he's much taller than most people. But
Yeah.
you and I are about the same height. You're probably, what, 5'6" or something? And he's like,
Yeah.
Patrick's like 6'2" or 12 or I don't know
Oh,
what.
yeah. Yeah.
And I remember he looked kind of like Steven Tyler, and we thought that he was the lead singer that we were going to be auditioning. It ended up being you, equally as cool looking, just without the
With the
super
height, without
the
the height.
basketball player height going on. But then we started. You joined our band, and we were called East of Eden back then, and pretty
Yep,
much the
yep.
sole writer of that band was Rich Coleman.
Yeah.
And he did some shows with Jarrett Reddick for a while. And so he's done a lot of stuff with him.
Yeah, he did the Jared Goes to the Movies.
Yeah, exactly. He had that show going on. But Rich wrote all the music. And the thing that was interesting about being in a band with Rich is like he would literally like record everything and hand it to you, and then the whole band, we'd all go and learn it. So he would program all the drums, he'd sing it on there or something.
Yep.
I think he may have played guitar on there, and he would just remember he would hand me a cassette, because this was when it's cassettes, and I would go home and have to learn that, and the guy would come up with like the craziest drum parts. I was like, what the what? And
It was like Dream Theater before there was Dream Theater. I mean,
Yeah.
Dream Theater come out like a month after we were playing and stuff. We were
Yeah.
like, oh my God, because it's all offbeat and off tempo.
yeah,
It was
just,
awesome.
Just
It was
like
awesome.
crazy weird stuff, like total
Yes.
prog rock. And I just remember thinking, this is what he wants. I'm gonna have to go and learn it. And that was probably just a super pivotal point in my music career, because
Yeah.
it pushed me to play stuff in a way that I would have never played had it not been for Rich. So a big shout out to Rich for that.
Well, and I think it was more at an advanced level. He had never, I don't think he had been in a lot of bands or anything. He's writing this advanced music. And luckily, Jason Wise was our guitar player at that time. We have no idea where Jason is. So if Jason is in Facebook land, holler at us. But, they were learning all this stuff. And it was like, it made us, because I think you and me were like in the same kind of deal, the Skid Row, Van Halen kind of stuff. And they were all this off tempo, really progressive stuff. And I was just broadened our horizons quite a bit.
Yeah, it totally did. I mean, it took us way out from our comfort zone, totally. And as was portrayed in that video, Distant Dreams. And actually, a lot of people may not know this, but you can actually play the tunes from my website, aprilsamuels.com. There's a discography, and I converted those old cassettes to MP3s, and you can tell they were cassettes too, because it's like You're like, yeah,
What are
gurgling.
you talking about? Our demo, we paid all that money for
I
on the cassette.
know.
We got home, it was like,
Oh,
yeah, that's great.
oh yeah, that's awesome.
5, 6,
Well, I
10
think
grand,
that's
whatever it
just
was.
what the world was back then, man. And
Oh yeah,
and it was like I think we just did 3 songs, right?
yeah,
Spread Your
yeah. It was
Wings,
3 songs. Yeah.
Running Away, and Into the Line. But we did that acoustic thing. I forget what it was called now, but we did.
Oh, we did it at the basement.
Oh
It was
yeah, Unplugged,
yeah,
and Andy Timmons actually come
yes,
in full circle with Andy Timmons being involved,
yeah,
doing some things for Breast Cancer Kids Tickets. So that's crazy, but there's a cassette out there for that as well of when we played
yeah.
acoustic at Unplugged at the basement, and it was like probably 96
4.
maybe. Was it?
Nah, I think it
Oh
was
yeah, you're right because we
94,
broke it at
95.
95.
Something.
Yeah, so it's 94
Yeah.
probably. But
And
yeah,
it had like Flesh and Blood and Spread Your Wings,
uh-huh.
and I think Into the Line on it too.
See, that's crazy. I wish we could have got so much more of that stuff recorded than we did.
I've got that cassette.
Do you really? See,
I've got in my fire, all that stuff got burned, but I had like somewhere a box with all these cassettes
right?
of all these demos I had done since I was a little kid. And I found the box. Matter of fact, I saw it about 6 months ago in my storage building. So it is there. And our promo pack, all that stuff made it through. So I have to dig it out and send it to you.
Yeah, that's over 25 years old right there. That's crazy. I mean,
maybe we sell on eBay and make some money.
I was telling Tommy the other day, I was like, we should get with Rich and do some of these, isolation recordings. And record some of that old East of Eden stuff because it was off the hook, man. Really great stuff.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to a few people real quick, Tommy. Paul is watching in the house. Dan is here. What's up? Mike Hanny is here. Brenda says that was freaking awesome. She loved the video. John Inman is here, which, by the way, if you go, I'm going to pull it up so people can see this. But if you go to our YouTube channel, I'm going to mute it so that it's not playing over top of us right now. But we actually did a video with John Inman for Immigrant Song, and I'm going to show everybody just a little piece of it here so they can see what's happening. But if you see right here, that's us with playing the Immigrant Song. Tommy over here, the top left, me in the bottom right, and John Inman of Deaf Legend. And that is available on our Breast Cancer Can Stick It YouTube channel. You can go there anytime and check that out. I'm going to pull it up in this format here so you can see it a little bit better within the page. 1 second. We're going to do this. So you can see that this is on the YouTube channel for Breast Cancer Can Stick It, which is Breast Cancer Can Stick It. Actually, it's youtube.com/breastcancercanstick, youtube.com/breastcancercanstick, and you can check that out. John Inman of Deaf Legend, myself, and Tommy Sherman from the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band. So pretty cool, man. I had to show everybody that real quick. But
that was fun,
all right,
too.
yeah, it was a blast, man. And like Tommy said, we're going to be releasing a couple more tunes here really soon, and I can't wait for that. So we talked about when we met, talked a little bit about East of Eden. And so then between East of Eden and the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band, you had a couple of huge things happen to you. And, we haven't talked about it, Tommy, in a million years about the details. Mm-hmm. But take everybody back to what happened when that explosion occurred over at your shop. So, Tommy, let them know what you do for a living and talk a little bit about Import Tech.
Well, all my life I've worked on cars, so that's my vocation. And in January of '98, I opened my own shop. Came from working at dealerships and all that, and decided to open my own shop because I was living an hour from where my hometown is, which is McAllister. And I was living in Muskogee and working for Honda. My dad said, "Hey, come home, open your shop, and you're fixing to have your baby's fixing to be born. It'd be better to be here. We're around her and all that." So we opened my shop, went great, and grew tremendously. Then in 2002, one of my employees caused an accident, and it released 100 gallons of propane into my shop from one of the vehicles we was working on, because we was working on big old Schwann's ice cream trucks. And, even though we're an import shop, mainly we do American cars too. And we had Schwann's account. He released all that propane in there, got everybody out, and I went back in because it was a Friday and we were always people in and out of this place. And I was making sure no one was in there. My last time of going in there, I clicked the air compressor off, which was in the very back wall of my shop. And I happened to look up and I saw the gas heater pilot sort of flickering up in the roof. And I thought, oh no. So I turned around as fast as my little legs would go, was running back. It was a 40 by 60 building, so I had 40 feet to run. Luckily, I was between the two bay, or in the middle of the bay doors. So when the explosion went off, it was just the craziest thing, because I remember looking back when I heard the noise and this ball just rolling at me. And when it hit me, it threw me out 20, 30 feet out in the air, out into this by the street. And I just remember looking up and the whole roof is standing up on this building that flips over on top of me. And it was just crazy. But that started the spiral of hospital visits and everything else for a few years for sure.
Wow, it's crazy that you can remember that much detail from something so
Yeah.
traumatic, and I'm sure the injuries too, because a lot of times when somebody's like in a really bad car wreck or something like that, they just don't remember anything. But you remembering that kind of detail
Yeah.
is crazy. And so when the roof came down on you, it was on fire, and
Oh, the whole
so
building,
right.
it was like, I mean, it was crazy. It's like watching a movie, because the building, it was like 40 by 60 rectangular sort of building. And I mean, it literally was 3 bays and office. And from the first bay to the office, all that melted to the ground. I mean, because the flame went like that and then sort of around and out at me. Everything in the middle bay over didn't even bubble the paint on these vehicles hardly. I mean, like a little spot here and there. It was like they just cut a line in the building, total devastation, except for some debris blew over there. You wouldn't know if there was a wall there, what's going on. But yeah, I remember totally everything, except when I was in my coma, in intensive care. But I still remember dreams that I had during that time, or hallucinations, or whatever you want to call them. And a lot of that stuff lined up with things that were going on right then. Like, imagining you killed somebody. Well, those people you thought you killed had just passed away from a fire next door to you in that room. That's what your mind was twisting it all around that way. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I remember everything that they told me. You won't remember anything, after this amount. You'll never work on cars again. You're too messed up and all this. And 2 years later, I told them I'm opening my shop up, and we've been going ever since. Live and kicking.
So crazy, man. So
Yeah.
after the you were engulfed in flames, it was at that point that you became unconscious at some point, and then they in
No, what happened was when I walked out, once it threw me out, I got up,
uh
walk out. Of course, looky loos come around. There's hundreds of people around. A buddy of mine was a block away, and he was a policeman. And when he heard the explosion, I mean, he just looped right around and come down. And by the time I got out to the street, he was there getting everybody off me. I mean, I remember everything until they told me at the hospital. They, took me to the hospital, wheeled me in. I was so melted that they had to put the IVs in my ankles. And I remember at 3 o'clock when it happened, all the shift of the main A team at the hospital were leaving, and the next shift was coming on. And what was crazy is a ton of my customers are like work in the hospital, because it's a big industry here where I'm at, and they all were leaving. And when they heard it, they all came back. So luckily, everybody I knew was in there. And I just asked them, if I'm going to die, let me know now so I can tell everybody bye. And before you put me out, and they're like, okay. So, I got to talk to everybody what I could. I was still in shock. It is, everything's gone, and you still don't feel it yet, but it was just starting to kick in then. And they said, we're going to put you out in about 5 minutes. So, talk to everybody. Then from that point, I had all these visions where, I was in the coma. They knocked me out. Then when I got to the burn center, I was so bad they had to, put me on a ventilator and knock me out and all that stuff. So once I came out of the coma and they pulled me out of that after 2 or 3 weeks, then I remember again. So it's crazy. I only lost that little window of time when I was, in the medically induced coma.
How long did they keep you in that medically induced coma?
I think it was 2.5 weeks, something like that. I got there October 18th, 2002, and they said, you will not go home till after Christmas sometime or something like that. And they said, normally this is a 5-6 month ordeal, longer, that you'll just be here in intensive care. My mom and dad and my family was raised Christian, and we've always went to church, or they did. I was out of town, so of course I wasn't. But first thing they did was get on the phone, start calling preachers and people they knew to start praying. And I got out of the hospital the day before Thanksgiving of that same year. So 45 days later, I got out. And
Wow.
I had 40, 44, 40%, 46% third degree burns from basically my waist to the top of my head was burnt. Then from my waist down to my ankles was where they removed all my skin for skin grafts. So there was like 88% of my body was, affected by it, either from grafts or the burns. So I got
Wow.
lucky there. I got out of there. The prayers worked.
Yeah, I'll say so. And so you mentioned, and first of all, tell me again, what year did this happen?
2002.
2002. And
Yeah.
so, wow, I'm just trying to swallow all that. It's a lot. So they had mentioned that you wouldn't be able to work on cars again. At least that's
Yeah.
what they were thinking. What was the
Yeah.
reason that they thought you wouldn't be able to do that?
Well, it's hard to see, but you can sort of see all this scar. All my arms were like that. My face, everything was burnt to this degree. And then stuff started coming away. Well, my hands, the nerve damage and then everything in them were so bad, it burnt from here down, all this is new skin where they put it on you and it basically grows, back to your body. But there was just so much damage. They said, you'll never do that again. And how it works in Oklahoma, I don't know if this is everywhere, but when you get hurt like that, you basically try to get disability for a little bit to help you out. And I kept trying to get it because I couldn't survive or nothing. I was having to live with my mom. People have to wipe my butt, give me baths, everything. And so I had to go through all that process of the disability thing. And they said, if we can send you to occupational rehab. And basically what that is, like, they're going to send you to college. They'll pay for it. You can do anything else you want, but it can be nothing to do with automotive cars. And I was like, well, heck yeah, that's all I know. And I was like, well, how long is it till you can send till that is available? And they said, right now the waiting list is like a year and a half. And I said, look, man, I don't want my parents to have to pay for my living. I'm going to have to find a job as soon as the doctor released me. And they're like, yeah, right. So I sued the government for disability. I won. And it was probably about, God, 7, 8 months. And it was by 7 or 8 months, I could slowly grip stuff enough, like my steering wheel, to start driving. They said, you can't drive, you can't drive. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to drive. But it just hurt. It barely touched anything like that. I mean, it hurt.
Well, and
Unbelievable.
that's probably similar. I mean, I don't want to. I definitely don't want to take away from that because I know that was way worse. But it's all nerve pain and like
Yeah,
just
totally.
wrapping back around to breast cancer. With neuropathy, and like I remember just probably the same kind of thing is. When I had neuropathy on my feet could I'd be sitting in a chair and my feet are just resting on the ground and it felt like hot coals. And so I have a
totally
feeling
like
that's,
that.
yeah, it's probably similar to what you were going through with that, right?
Yeah, and my hands I could just be sitting here like this talking to you, and all of a sudden my hands would just, like, my muscles would just curl up within themselves like Charlie horses, like super bad. And, they had to do the different pills and everything. And I mean, I'm still on that stuff, 18, 19 years later. But, I think what the government tries to do is everybody takes so much advantage of that system that they're like, hey, we'll just get you to build a computer or work here or there, and we'll just give you disability all your life. And I think a bunch of people are gung ho to take that. And I was like, just help me out a little bit of time till I can get it released. Then I want to go back to work for my job. And they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, why can't I? And they said, well, if you're going to do this, you got to sign off on all that. You'll stay on your disability. I was like, well, I don't want to do that. So I went up to the Social Security office. I know this is skipping way ahead, but I told them, I said, look, they told me I can't work on cars anymore or, to do this job thing. And I said, I'm going to go back to work. What do I need to do? And that's like, every doctor released you. I'm like, no, I ain't released me yet, but I want to start. She goes, I'll tell you what, if you start working now a little bit to get your faculties back, that's okay. So a friend of mine had a shop, Jeff McDaniels, here in town, and he let me come down there and do a couple of my super good customers that I've had forever's car to see if I could do it. And things that would take me like 2 hours were taking me like 8 hours, 2 days, 3 days. But slowly, my hands started to come back. And I told them, look, after about 4 months, I said, I'm off this. I'm going to work. And they said, we have never had anyone do that before. And I'm like, I'm out of here, man. I can't do this. I've got to work,
That is like super admirable. I mean, like you said, some people might just be like, oh, well, disability, I'll just do that. But to
Yeah,
have
free money.
yeah, I mean, to have a passion for what you do. I mean, you have a passion for working on cars and doing what you
Yeah.
do. And, you guys do so well up there in McAllister, Import Tech there. Anybody who's in McAllister, Oklahoma needs to know that. I got to give a quick check in, Tommy, on some of these folks who are commenting. I want to be sure and holler here. So, Paul says, wanted to let you know that he's back. He had to step away, but he is back. And he says he's a leukemia survivor as well. And Immigrant Song is his all-time favorite, which is cool. Carrie, your wife Carrie, is in the house. She says, we felt the explosion at the flower shop where I worked a few miles away. I got the call a few minutes after that. It's crazy. Brenda says, wow, that is insane, in reference to that explosion. Jennifer has a question for you. She says, do you still have ongoing issues with your skin? Do you have to use special lotions or anything like that?
For me, the ongoing issues with my skin is I just can't get out in the sun a lot. I can get out in it, but just got to really watch it. As far as like, working in my shop, it can get, if it's like 90 outside, it's like 120 in there. And I mean, I sweat. Anybody's seen us play live, I walk on stage and all of a sudden it's just like, I just start sweating, because with your skin, I don't have sweat glands here anymore. So, these part of me where all this scar is can't sweat. So it's basically, I can sweat here, then from my waist down on my back, stuff like that. So that makes it a little weird. But as far as lotions, if I get dry or something, I might, but it's more issues of the pain and damage that you got, for me anyway.
And I think that's something that people don't realize is when you're a burn victim, it's not like, oh, they do the grafting and send you on your way and you're fine. Like you said, it's been almost 20 years and you still have pain, because it's like nerve pain, because as I envision it, Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you think about, just taking off like a couple layers of your skin and then it exposes the nerves are just right there. So you're always experiencing pain. And I know you've mentioned it a few times, but just so everybody watching knows, Tommy doesn't complain, man. He doesn't. You don't complain about any of this stuff. Even when all that stuff happened, I never heard you complain, man. You just kind of were like, okay, this is what's happening, and you just kind of hunker down and go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know you are still on like a lot of medication and things for pain, right? Yeah.
Well, it's finally, I'm just getting to where it's like, I'm so tired of taking so much. You take this to help you and you gain a lot of weight, or you take this to help you and you lose memory. There's so many things you have to play with to all that medicine working together. So I try to take the minimum I can. I've got some light pain medicine I take at night to sleep. Other than that, it's just old people pills like cholesterol and things like that. But I have to take a pill for my PTSD. But other than that, when I started out, it was a butt ton of them. I mean, it was like 14, 15 pills at a time, 3 or 4 times a day. It was ridiculous. I was on Percocet and stuff like that for, I would say probably 10 years on strong stuff like that, before I could slowly, because all these nerves just have to reattach and regrow, because all this, I couldn't even feel anything there, but I'm slowly just now in some spots starting to get feeling back where nerves are working. They said all your life it'd be like that. You'll start getting sensations back here and there that, your arms and hands had lost over time. But I just try to do the minimum I can and do what my doctor says and just go from there.
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
I mean, I never really told you, but I've always been like, as a friend to me, I've always just been so impressed, like, because you never talk about it, you don't complain about it, and I always think of it when I see you. It's like this you have this like superhuman strength because I can't imagine going through that, man. Seriously. I just,
well, I think it isn't that so much, but it's just, how you was talking to Lori about what do you learn? What do you take away from things? And the biggest thing I took away, I'm just as guilty as everybody else, because when you get in there and they're peeling your skin off and you're out of your coma, I mean, literally the lightest you could touch something. If everybody at home could touch something as light as you can touch, they did that to me when I first come out. My leg was uncovered. I was in the tank room where they, clean you and stuff. And there was all these little, it looked like pores. And I thought, my skin looks like I got all these pores. And she goes, don't touch that. Those are all nerve endings exposed. And I was like, what? It looks like little bitty hair follicles just all down your leg. And she goes, I'm telling you. I was like, no way. And she goes, touch it. I barely touched it. And I blacked out for like 2 hours. That's how painful it was.
Oh my
So,
God, dude.
yeah,
Oh my God. So the moral of the story is if
don't,
anybody is in a similar situation and they say,
yeah,
don't touch that, those are your
don't touch
nerve endings,
nothing.
just freaking don't do it. Oh my
Don't
gosh,
touch
man.
it.
Holy crap.
But
Wow.
no, I think the biggest thing, of not complaining is just, I when I was in there, like I said at the beginning there, everybody was, when they first come in and they're scrubbing you, they're screaming, they're crying, don't do this, don't do that, I hate it. And one day I was sitting in there and they were fixing, I just got out of the, what they do is they take you back there. It takes a big ordeal to take all the bandages off you because they're stuck to you. So they basically got to rip them off. And then they put you in your little shower or you're laid on a tray and they wash you, or you wash yourself, however far along you are. But then they would put you back on this stretcher beds, and there was a whole bunch of them in there. And they would give me a whole bunch of morphine because they were fixing to have to wrap me up and put all this lotion on me. And I was laying there before they did that. And I remember just thinking, God, this is awful. I hate it. I want to die, all this. And in the next room, the lady had just brought in a baby. And the baby had someone, her dad or one of them, had poured a whole coffee pitcher of steaming water on it. And I remember sitting listening to that baby, and the baby was just screaming bloody murder. They're having to clean it. And as soon as they would stop, the baby would start laughing. And I mean, it would literally laugh like nothing had happened till they had to start doing the next, bandage or wherever. And I thought, if this baby can go through there with, not sitting there and whine, there's no reason we, as adults, shouldn't be able to suck it up too. And I think it just teaches that patience and, hey, everybody can have it worse than you got it. I don't care how bad it is the way I look at everything anymore.
That's a really, really good way to look at it. And, it's something going through something like that gives you crazy perspective.
Yeah.
It's amazing because, I mean, like you said, it's like somebody can always have it worse, and you just have to be thankful for the blessings that you do have. And I know that you're a person that's like that is very
Yes.
grateful. And that you recognize what you have in life, and you don't fixate on what you don't have, or any
No,
barriers
no.
or pains or whatever. You focus on the good stuff.
Well, you got to. I mean, I've got aches and pains, and I'll have them the rest of my life. But I got two beautiful kids. I've got a great wife. I have a job I'm thankful for that, we own and it's successful. I live next door to my mom, my sister and brother-in-law in town. All my kids are here in town. So, what more can you want? I mean, it'd be great to be rich and be a rock star like we all dreamed about in 93. But I mean, I feel like a rock star where I'm at, just getting to do what I want to do every day. I mean,
Yeah,
we could
man.
all ask for more money, man, but I'm just happy now. It's like I couldn't picture anything else being better. So,
Yeah,
aches and
totally, man.
pains are a small price to pay for the life we have every day. So you
Yeah,
just got to roll with it.
you're totally right, man. It looks like Donna says, amazing story. But there for the grace of God. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's true.
True, very true.
That's
Thank you,
true.
Donna, for that comment. I want to give a shout out to Janet and Kathy for hanging out. Carrie also says he also had lots of physical therapy and multiple surgeries afterwards to release the scar tissue. Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've probably had about, God, 20 surgeries just because of the burn stuff.
Wow.
Uh, releasing contractures, they'd have to split here and add skin because your fingers would do like they would web together. And, they'd want you to practice all this stuff. I couldn't even feel they would have these tactile measurement things, I think they called, where I would have to reach and not look and tell them what coin it is, a 50-cent piece or quarter. I couldn't even feel all that stuff to tell you what it was at all. There was no feeling there. So I had to learn to use my, left hand to write everything after I got out because this one was too messed up. Just so many things that come along with things like that it just blows your mind. But
Wow.
I'm just thankful that I listened to my doctors and did what they said because, there's a lot of people in there that they had me go talk to. One guy, they said, would you go talk to this guy? Because you don't, sort of like you said, you're not complaining, you're doing the stuff and you see it's working for you. And I said, sure. And he was from this area, but I can't remember what the deal was, but basically he was in a meth lab and it blew up. And he would lay in bed and he wouldn't do anything but lay there. And his arms literally locked up like this to him, and he'll never be able to, they can't release that. Once they come so far, there was something to do with how your body heals itself at that level. Guess what? That's where you're going to stay at. You'll never be able to get that hand back out there and do those things again. And he just wouldn't do it. So you see people that don't do what the doctor says. And I just luckily had a support system, and you need to do what they say. And I was like, yeah, I do. And
Yeah,
anything
and
they told me to wear or any of that stuff,
and you even pushed it because they were saying things that you couldn't do, and you were like, no, I'm gonna do it. And it reminds me of, and I think you might have been one of the people that told me about this book, possibly, is Mustaine, Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, his book, where they had told him he wasn't gonna be able to play guitar again, and he just was like, to hell I'm not, and he was like found a way to do it. So it's all about perseverance and overcoming adversity and just just pulling through. Paul says perspective. We each have a cross to bear. Thank you for sharing. I love this platform to share and learn. Of course, Paul, we're there for you, and we're thankful that Tommy could share this. And Nikki says, may God continue to bless you. Super cool. So that's really just the start of the conversation. I really wanted to get into that because it's really a miraculous story, Tommy. I mean, it truly is. I mean, like we were talking on break, it's been years since we've had this conversation. I remember when it first happened and you told me what went down and all that stuff, but we haven't really talked about it in this kind of detail since then. But fast forward many years, we get the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band together. I think it was in 2015. Yeah, 2015. And we got it all together. We were a 4-piece. It was you, me, Miguel, and Matt Johnson. And we were set to play our first gig at Lisa Palooza up in Denton. Lisa Palooza was a cancer benefit for a friend of mine who ultimately passed away from colon cancer. And so we were going to play that gig, and it was probably 2 weeks or a month or something before that show. And
I think it was it was a month,
Yeah, and you found out some other information. Tell everybody what happened, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd been, for a couple weeks, I'd been real tired. And I mean, like, tired, like, can't get out of bed tired, can't go to work tired. I don't mean tired because I didn't sleep last night. And I'd finally get around and get to the shop and just sickly feeling. I was like, man, something ain't right. I'm like, well, in a few days it'd be better. And Carrie, my wife, said, no, you need to go right now to the urgent care, see what's going on. Let's go from there. So I went up there. They did the blood. They said, there's something wrong with your blood, and we think you got an infection. I said, okay. So they give me all these shots, and they said, can you come back tomorrow and we'll check the numbers again to see if they've changed? Well, 10, 11,000 is and less is the units for white blood cells. And mine were like, it was like 18,000 or something like that. So the next day it was like 22,000. So they're like, and that was like a Friday, and they were getting scared. And I was like, well, they wouldn't give me no answer. I was like, what are we scared about? Come on. Let me know
I need to know why we're scared. Okay. Tell me what's going on.
So that's not the best part. I get home, I'm laying in bed, I can't get up. And the freaking hospital calls me, and they said, is this Mr. Sherman? I was like, yeah. And I can't remember exactly what they said, but you need to get up here like right now. And I'm like, okay, who's in there? And they're like, no, your blood, we just got the next sample and it's at 33,000. And I was like, well, I'll have to get a hold of my doctor. Well, I didn't get a hold of my doctor till Monday. And she said, we need to send you to the cancer center. So they sent me to Tulsa, and they did a blood. And my cancer doctor walked in, and he just said, oh, I've looked at your blood. I haven't looked at anything else, but you've got leukemia. I'm sure of it. And me and my wife were both like, oh my God, all my life, when I was a kid, I had some friends that had childhood leukemia, and they died like in months. And I was like, oh man, it's sort of, fire is one thing, but mortality to that level, they told me in the hospital when I had my burns, you got like 5 or 10% chance to survive. And I was like, okay, well, when they said the leukemia thing, I was like, man, there's like no chance of that. And he said, oh, it's not like that anymore. And I'm like, it's easy for you to say. And Carrie was just like in shock too. I mean, because the way he said it was just like, he says this every day. And he goes, we'll know for sure in a week. And I was like, oh man, I got a week to think about this. So
what was the week wait for? Was it to get some more blood work back, or?
Well, what they do is they do like a preliminary test on the blood, and it'll show these levels are off and all this stuff is pointing toward leukemia. Then they take your blood and they do a molecular study in California where they do like DNA, and the different chromosomes within the in your DNA. They basically like are pointed like this, and with leukemia, one of them flips to this one, and they sort of, I don't know, it's a weird deal. It's like they're supposed to be like this, and then all of a sudden this one's
they're
down, and this one's up, and this one's down.
right. Everything's backwards and upside down.
Yeah. And it's like, well, how did I get this? Is this family? Am I going to pass it to my kids? What's the deal? He's like, no, you can't pass it to nobody. Just people get it. We don't know how they get it. It could be the chemicals you work around. It could be something in the air. But he said it'd be a week. We'll have your molecular study. So we had a week of sitting and crying and freaking out.
That's the worst part of any kind of cancer diagnosis, man, is waiting for results or waiting to find out how, what stage are you, how far along, all that different stuff, or if there's more cancer or whatever the situation is. The waiting sucks, man. Yeah.
And I told Carrie, I told her one day at work, I said, look, the only thing is, if this is a death sentence, the only thing I want is to stay alive as long as I can until my girls graduate college or school. So I can at least see that for them. So the week goes up, we go back up there, and matter of fact, he came here that time to the clinic here. And he said, yep, you have it. And he goes, you're going to live a normal life with it. And I was like, how can you be so sure? And he started telling me how things are nowadays. And basically he said, with your leukemia, yes, 30 years ago, you'd be dead in 6 months or a year or whatever. But he said, you'll take a chemo pill every day for the rest of your life. And, a lot of people don't have side effects. Some do. But thank God I didn't have no side effects. And what they would do is every few weeks, they would retest my blood to see, is it going up, going down? Do we need to adjust the meds? What's going on? And they were calling constantly about it. How's they treating you? How's it working? And I guess, I had to call you, and we canceled my part of the Lisa Palooza. I didn't get to do the first drumathon, I don't think. And then it was probably after so long on that medicine, they just keep watching, then they can drag out from every month you go to every 4 months or 3 months or whatever. But it was about a year ago that I'd been in remission. Right when they give me the pill, within 3 or 4 months, I was in remission from it. It had worked that great. And he said, man, you're there. It's showing no leukemia hardly. And I said, we're great. So well, I've keeping up like you do with the breast cancer stuff over the years of the researches and trials and all that on meds for leukemia. And about a year ago, I said, hey, they're having all these trials over in England where people that had my leukemia who took my kind of pill, if they went into remission quick, can quit taking the pill and see if they've killed it and cured it. And anybody who it didn't kill, the pill would automatically start working again. He goes, yeah, we need to really watch that and see. And I said, no, I want to get off it right now. And the lady's like, well, I don't think he's ever pulled anybody off it. And I said, well, I'll be the guinea pig. So she went and asked me, said, all right. And I've been off it a year now, and I'm still in remission. Everything, thanks to God, it's going good. And hopefully it keeps rolling that way.
Wow. So do you have to get checked out every now and then still? Like, does he do blood work on you all the time still?
What I was doing was, I think it was every 6 months I was going. No, it was every 3 months I'd have a blood test. Every 6 months I'd have a molecular study. And now they've got it like every 6 months. I just have the molecular study. But, he said the way mine is testing now is like, I've never had it before in my life. He said, your numbers there is not even a 0.00001 in my blood of leukemia right now.
Holy cow. It's so crazy. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you just had a complete response to that chemo pill. And it was like,
they call it a complete molecular response to treatment. Because there was like a complete, there was like 4 different levels, but the complete molecular response is the one all the leukemia patients want, because it means there's no detectable disease in your blood, in your cells or anything. So that's where I'm at right now. And it's been about a year. So, that's, knock on wood, it keeps going like that.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. I got a couple people wanted to shout out here. So Jennifer says, hearing you have cancer is a punch in the gut, referring to when you got that call or when you were in the office. And then Carrie said, it's the longest week ever for that test results. We had to wait and not tell our kids until we knew for sure. And you guys were still in denial. Wow. That's rough, man. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. And then,
because if you don't feel, it's sort of like that COVID thing. If I did not feel, I didn't feel that like I had cancer. I mean, you think someone has cancer in deathbed and all this kind of stuff. In my eyes, really sick, and I was just tired. I felt like I had a little bit of a flu or something, and I was actually, by the time I finally got in to see the doctor, I was actually feeling better. So, I was really just shocked. I was like, I told Carrie like the night before they were going to tell us, I said, I don't feel like I got cancer. I said, they might tell us whatever tomorrow. And, they told us the next day. But
wow. Yeah. I think that's, I know a lot of people like, you don't, I've got a friend who has stage 4 cancer, and she said it so many times that she doesn't feel sick or anything. And it's just so weird to be walking around with cancer. It's like,
yeah,
silent but deadly, man. You gotta be careful,
yeah.
and you gotta stay on top of that stuff. Brenda wanted to
Well,
say that
okay.
that your life is such an incredible life journey, and Carrie wants to say that you guys had your prayers answered. Paul says, "Yep, I was tired. Gave tired a new meaning. His leukemia is different. Total molecular means cured. It's what we all pray for." So Paul's another leukemia survivor out there. Sounds like so. Wow. Crazy, man.
It's crazy. All the people like in my shop, customers would come in and say, we'd have to tell them, hey, he's only working like X amount of hours because the leukemia will get tired. And then all these people start coming out of the woodwork that had it that you would never thought that were in remission for their, leukemia. I found out one of my aunts had it on my mother's side, and she, had been in remission on an older drug and things like that. But, we just prayed about it. And it's like I tell everybody, a lot of people say, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in all that stuff. And I say, hey, whatever works for everybody, but for us, everybody, there was so much love and positive vibes and prayers and everything. I mean, it's just awesome to come
Yeah.
through all that, all the support you have. It means all the world
Yeah.
to have that support system help you make it through that stuff.
Well, you do have a lot of support. You got a lot of people out there that love you, and I think that one of the things that makes you such a great guy is that being grateful. I think that being grateful is a character. A, you know, it's something that makes a really good. It's a really good characteristic to have is gratefulness, because I think that kind of puts a different layer over your whole life where you have a lot better
Yeah.
perspective. Um,
You appreciate things better.
yeah,
You look at things different. Before my accident, even to now, how I am as a person is totally different. Yeah, we age through the years and everybody changes. We're different from when we were together in '93. But I mean, your whole, I don't know how to describe it. It's just I'm more patient. I don't get so worked up. Like you said, I'm just, everybody has something bad in their life, and everybody's burn could be burning their little finger or burning their whole body. But to each person, each accident or thing is their cross to bear, their thing they got to go through, divorce, cancer, whatever. And you just got to be grateful and find the thing that just sort of centers you. And you just got to sit back and realize that no matter what, we're not promised tomorrow. You just got to do what the doctors say, do what you want to do with your life, live the best life you can, and just go forward. I mean, that's all you can do.
dude, amen. Yeah,
The grateful, and it was, but you're the same way. I look at you as probably one of the biggest warriors I know
dude.
out of everybody.
Thanks, man. Right back at
Because
you.
I mean, it is 24/7. That's what I tell everybody. Like, oh, I don't want to donate money to this or that. They're using money for this. They're not doing it right. And I told everybody that I know, if you donate to this, I'll put my word on it that this is the real deal, because she's a warrior and 24/7 is thinking about this. She's not thinking 9 hours a day about breast cancer and the other 8 about what kind of car do I have or what am I going to do. It's 24/7. April is breast cancer considered.
Man, thanks,
I mean,
dude. Yeah, it's just one of those things where I found my life's passion, and I'm just gonna jump
yeah,
into that, and try to make the world a better place, and try to help other folks, and maybe make it where people don't have to go through similar things, and I think that that's all we can do is try to help each other out there.
exactly.
Donna says, I need to make sure I read what Donna has here. She says, if there is a best thing about adversity, is that it brings you It brings out your inner warrior. You both have in triumphant recoveries and reactions. Inspirational. Thank you, Donna, for that. I agree, Tommy. Dude, the way you turned this whole thing around has been so cool to watch. And like I said, you know, I always think about it when I see you, about everything that you've been through and how strong you are. We never really talk about it, but I'm always like, dude, that guy's a badass, man. I'm always thinking that for real. So I, you know.
Badass is right. Badass, I don't know about that.
No, dude, no. Well, cool, man. And I guess, you know, the only other thing I was going to say is that, you know, we've got the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band, of course, and, you know, we're a cover band, and maybe one day we'll write some original music. Who knows? But the cool thing about this is, you know, we're all older now. We can chill out and do it as we want, and play some gigs here and there, do some recordings, do some video collaborations. I know we're doing a couple of
have you plugged this?
Oh man, we need to. Yeah, Angels and Outlaws by Kelly Vaughn.
Player.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's our guitar player right there. Here, let me put you on the screen big. Here, show them that. Yeah, there you go. Angels and Outlaws, Kelly Vaughn. That is our guitar player in the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band. You can pick that up just about anywhere. Angels and Outlaws, Kelly Vaughn, and it's an amazing story too.
It's real positive too. It's not. It's real positive music.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and I really dug it. He's done a great job on it. So everybody needs to go to his website.
Check out
kellyvaughn.com. And pick it up.
Grab Angels and Outlaws.
kellyvaughn.net.
kellyvaughn.net. Yeah, and it is great, a great message, that album right there, and a lot of his stuff. I've known Kelly for a long time, and he used to have a band called Kickstand that was fun, and they had a song called Fat Albert that was really funny. I wish I could find that. I was like, man, if y'all remember that show a long time ago. And anyway, but kellyvaughn.net, check that out, and be sure and pick it up. But man, Tommy, thanks so much for taking time out today to join the show, and I'm gonna definitely follow up our little chat. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna follow up our chat with our Breast Cancer Can Stick It band promo, so that everybody can see you singing again 25 years later compared to the video we played earlier. If you joined late, you guys have to watch the replay and see me and Tommy from 1994 doing Distant Dreams by East of Eden, our band back.
And it was not a wig, it was my real hair.
That was his real hair, man. You had the best hair, man. The best hair of the band.
I know.
And you did, dude. And
I had Fabio's number, man.
You did. I mean,
all I needed was a butter commercial.
He didn't have any recession of his hair at all. I mean, you had the lowest hairline of any guy I've ever known. And anyways, it was beautiful hair. But this was from a couple of years ago at the House of Blues. This is our promo. And Tommy, again, thank you so much for joining tonight. And I can't wait to finish these next couple songs with you and do even more.
For sure.
All right, man?
All right, sis.
Take care, honey.
See you later.
All right, love you.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.
Love you.
All right, guys, that was Tommy Sherman, lead singer of the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band, leukemia survivor, and burn victim survivor.